Imagine you've got, like,
Mhm.
the literal cure for a disease, and it's locked away in some basement vault. I mean, the cure works perfectly,
Right.
right? It's a total miracle.
Right. Yeah.
But if nobody knows it's down there, or worse, if nobody actually trusts the person holding the key, it just, well, it doesn't matter. The cure is functionally useless.
It's basically the absolute definition of a modern tragedy.
Yeah.
And it's the exact situation that I'd say millions of incredibly smart, talented people find themselves in right now.
Completely.
They have all this knowledge, but they're, completely invisible, just drowning in a sea of noise.
I think about this all the time.
Yeah.
The world is just filled to the brim with, well, broke experts. People who have incredible knowledge, life-changing advice, and they've worked so hard for it, but they literally have absolutely no one listening to them.
Nobody.
And then, on the flip side, you look online and see people who maybe only know a fraction of what those real experts know. But
Yeah.
because they figured out how to package their message, they're building massive wealth and, like, changing thousands of lives.
Yeah, it's wild.
My first reaction is always, how is that fair?
Yeah.
But then I realize fairness has absolutely nothing to do with it, does it?
Fairness rarely factors into the mechanics of attention. I mean, in today's digital age, information alone is practically worthless.
Right, because we're just drowning in it.
Yeah.
You can Google literally anything.
Exactly. Information is a commodity now. But what's really fascinating here is the underlying reason why this happens, which is exactly what the source material we're diving into today lays out so clearly.
Yeah, let's get into that.
It's the skillful application of the right information presented at the exact right time in the exact right psychological framing. That is what actually commands attention and creates value.
It is just the ultimate modern frustration, knowing you have the solution to someone's problem, like whether that's how to save their marriage or cure their kids' ADHD naturally, or maybe grow a brick-and-mortar business.
Yeah, anything really.
Right. But you lack the megaphone to actually reach them. It really makes you wonder if the missing link for all these frustrated experts isn't, learning more about their craft. Maybe they already know enough.
Oh, they definitely know enough.
The real missing link is learning how to build the stage to speak from in the first place.
That is the exact premise we're examining on this deep dive. If you have specialized knowledge, you're already an expert. But the title of expert, well, it doesn't automatically grant you an audience.
Oh, true.
The transition from being this invisible expert to a recognized leader, it requires a complete paradigm shift in how you view your knowledge and how you interact with the people who actually need it.
It's moving from a transactional mindset to a transformational one.
Precisely.
So that really brings us to the core mission of this deep dive. We want to figure out, for you listening, how do you actually get people to pay for what you know? How do you take that cure out of the basement vault and get it to the people who are practically begging for it?
To answer that, we are looking really closely at a fascinating blueprint. It's the book Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. And, to really grasp the weight of what Brunson is proposing here, we got to look at who wrote the foreword for this book.
Oh, yeah, this is huge. It's Robert Kiyosaki, right? The financial education titan who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad and created the cash flow quadrant.
Right. And Kiyosaki explicitly calls Brunson's methodology a shortcut to the new rich.
Which is a massive claim.
Yeah.
Especially coming from someone whose entire brand is built on, very slow, methodical, systemized wealth building.
It is a really bold claim. But if we connect this to the bigger picture of Kiyosaki's own philosophy, it actually makes perfect sense. I mean, you're likely familiar with the cash flow quadrant, dividing the working world into 4 categories, right?
Yeah, employees, self-employed, business owners, and investors.
Exactly. Most people start as employees, just trading their time for money. And then if they want more control, they move over and become self-employed. But let's look at the psychology of that S quadrant, the self-employed group, for a second.
It's usually a trap, isn't it?
It really is. You don't own a business, you just own a job. You become the bottleneck because you inherently believe nobody else can do the work as well as you can.
You become the smartest person in the room, but you're completely locked in the room. You can't leave.
That's a perfect way to put it. True financial freedom, according to Kiyosaki, requires moving to the right side of the quadrant, becoming a business owner or an investor where systems and capital are actually working for you.
Right.
What Kiyosaki is pointing out in that foreword is that Brunson's process in Expert Secrets is literally a step-by-step roadmap to jump straight into the B quadrant using the specialized knowledge you already have. You just completely bypass the traditional corporate ladder.
And you skip the self-employment trap entirely. It's fascinating because Kiyosaki points out that his own massive Rich Dad Empire is, at its very core, an expert business.
Oh, absolutely. Like, he didn't start with some massive real estate conglomerate. He started with specialized knowledge about money, packaged it into that board game cash flow, and organically grew that into this huge global movement of books and lectures and coaching. He was just selling his expertise.
Yep, that was the foundation.
But I gotta ask, why does this matter so much now? People have been selling their expertise for decades, you know?
It matters right now because the barriers to entry have completely collapsed. I mean, think about it. In the past, there were massive hurdles to moving through those quadrants.
Oh, for sure.
If you wanted to start a business on the side, like 20 years ago, the financial and technical barriers were enormous. You had to hire a web designer, a copywriter, a developer, just to build a simple shopping cart.
Someone to manage the server hosting, yeah. It was prohibitively expensive and just took forever.
Exactly. You essentially needed venture capital just to see if a simple idea was even viable.
You needed a whole tech team just to process a single credit card online. But now, as the text highlights, software tools have almost entirely removed those hurdles. They really have. Brunson himself is the creator of ClickFunnels, which is software designed to handle all those complex technical aspects without you needing to know a single line of code.
Right, so if the technical and financial barriers are essentially gone, the only thing left, the only real variable between your success and failure is your ability to actually share your message with the world.
Yes. And the central argument here is profound, mainly because it's so counterintuitive. To turn your knowledge into a highly profitable business, you absolutely cannot just sell information.
Wait, hold on. Isn't that exactly what an expert business is? Selling information. Like, if I'm a real estate expert, I sell a course with information on how to flip houses.
It's what most people think it is. And that is exactly why most people fail at it.
Oh, interesting.
The text argues that you must become a charismatic leader, build a mass movement, and offer a completely new opportunity that basically replaces your audience's current failing methods.
Okay, mass movement. That sounds intense.
It is, but the mechanism for achieving this isn't teaching them facts. It's systematically breaking their false beliefs through storytelling.
Okay, so stop being just a librarian of facts and start being the charismatic leader of a movement. You aren't handing out encyclopedias. You are leading a charge.
Exactly. That's the shift.
But let's unpack the psychology of the expert for a second, because the text points out that there's a natural life cycle to this. You start by just geeking out on a topic, right? You consume everything, books, podcasts, reading all the research. You experience a ton of personal development.
Right, but eventually personal development hits a ceiling. I mean, you can only read so many books on real estate investing before the marginal utility of the next book basically drops to zero.
Yeah, you stop learning new things.
The only way to continue to grow, to reach ultimate psychological fulfillment, is to shift from personal development to contribution, from learning for yourself to actually teaching others.
Your message matters. And this book is your figurative pap on the shoulder. I honestly love that line from the text. It's like a call to arms for the listener.
It really is.
But moving from consuming to contributing, well, that requires a vehicle. So we've pulled out the core frameworks Brunson lays out to actually build this vehicle.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the anatomy of a mass movement.
Let's do it.
The author argues that every mass movement in history, whether it's political, social, or commercial, shares three core elements. And it's visualized as a triangle.
Right, the three pillars.
First, a charismatic leader. Second, the cause, which is like a future-based vision. And third, a new opportunity.
Let's really analyze that first point, the charismatic leader, which the book refers to as the attractive character.
See, that phrase, attractive character, it can sound incredibly intimidating. It makes me think I need the stage presence of like a Tony Robbins, or that I need to be this universally loved, flawless human being.
It definitely sounds like a tall order at first glance, but the text frames it quite differently. It actually removes the pressure of needing to be inherently cool or some polished guru.
Thank goodness.
People don't follow you because you're perfect. They follow you because you have completed the exact journey they are currently on. You are just bridging the gap between where they are right now, struggling in the valley, and where they want to be.
You are essentially their future self reporting back with a map.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
That makes it so much more approachable. You don't have to be a deity on a mountaintop. You just have to be, a few steps ahead on the path.
Right.
But to be that leader, you have to figure out exactly who you are actually leading. You need a niche. And here, the text introduces something called the prolific index.
This is such a crucial concept for positioning yourself. When you're choosing your submarket or niche, you have to plot yourself on this prolific index. So on one end, you have the absolute
Like
mainstream.
generic advice?
Right. It's safe, it's conventional, and it is incredibly crowded. Think of generic weight loss advice like eat fewer calories and jog more.
Yeah, nobody is building a movement around that anymore.
No. But on the far opposite end, you have what the author calls crazy land. It's so fringe and radical that there is absolutely no money or market for it.
Like someone teaching how to lose weight by only eating foods that start with the letter Q during a full moon.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
entirely unique, but nobody is buying it because it breaks too many fundamental norms of reality. It's too out there.
The sweet spot, the place where mass movements are actually born, is right in the middle. It's the space where you are pushing against the mainstream enough to be highly interesting and provocative, but not so far out that you alienate the masses completely.
You have to be prolific. You have to challenge their current beliefs just enough to make them stop scrolling on their phones, but provide enough logical tethering that they can actually follow your train of thought.
Okay, so once you find that prolific sweet spot and you start gathering your people, the text brings up a rule that I know makes a lot of experts, like people who really care, incredibly uncomfortable.
The rule of paying.
Ah, yes, the concept that those who pay attention.
Many experts, out of a genuine desire to help people, just want to give all their knowledge away for free. They feel that charging for their expertise is somehow greedy or, exclusionary.
Which is a natural feeling.
It is, but the author argues a fascinating psychological point here. You are actually doing your audience a massive disservice if you undervalue what you are selling.
I mean, think about the sunk cost fallacy, or even just basic cognitive dissonance. If someone hands you a free PDF on how to build a budget, it just sits in your downloads folder until the end of time. There's no psychological weight attached to it.
Not at all.
But if you pay $1,000 for a masterclass on financial independence, your brain literally has to justify that expenditure. You clear your schedule, you take copious notes, and you execute every single step because you need to prove to yourself that the investment was worth it.
The financial investment forces an emotional and psychological investment. It creates real compliance.
That makes a lot of sense.
And furthermore, as your movement grows, your time becomes your most scarce resource. If you are totally accessible to everyone for free, you will burn out. Your advice will become completely diluted, and ultimately you will serve far fewer people. Charging a premium protects your time so you can deliver deeper, more transformative value to those who are actually committed.
Okay, yes, but let me push back here for a second. Doesn't charging a massive premium right out of the gate risk alienating a huge chunk of people who genuinely need your help but just, don't have the capital? Or worse, doesn't it push a standard of success on them that they don't even really want?
That raises a really important point about how we actually define value, and it's something the text addresses when discussing the cause part of the triangle. Often, experts try to force their own definition of value onto their audience.
Right.
An expert might think, I'm going to teach these people how to make $1 million, assuming that's what literally everyone wants. They project their own ambition onto the group. But the audience might not care about the $1 million.
I see this in fitness all the time. Imagine someone joining a local cycling club. The expert leading the club might be totally obsessed with shaving seconds off race times, optimizing VO2 max, getting everyone to peak athletic performance.
Very intense.
But the person who just joined, they might just want to feel part of a community. They want to get out of the house on a Saturday morning, move their body a bit, and have coffee with nice people afterwards.
Yeah.
If the expert screams at them about their split times and demands a massive financial commitment for elite coaching, they are going to leave immediately.
Exactly. You cannot push your definition of value onto them. Sometimes they just want connections. Sometimes they just really enjoy the process of learning. You have to offer them value from their perceived relationship with you in the way they define it.
That's a great distinction.
And to address your point about alienating people with high prices, this is exactly why the book utilizes the concept of a value ladder. You don't ask for a massive investment on day one. You bring people up step by step, starting with free or low-cost items, like a book or a small challenge, and gradually offering higher value, higher price services only to those who actively raise their hands and want that deeper access.
Okay, I get it. So we've built this new vehicle, we understand the pricing psychology and the ladder, but if they're used to riding bicycles, how do we convince them to get into this spaceship without scaring them off?
That perfectly transitions into the opportunity switch.
Because to get them onto that value ladder in the first place, you need to offer them something fundamentally different than what they've seen a million times before, right?
This is perhaps the most vital mechanical strategy in the entire book. You must create a new opportunity, not an improvement offer.
Let's really dig into this because most people, when they try to start an expert business, they look at the market and say, I'm going to do what that guy's doing, but I'll make it 10% better. Or I'll make my course a little faster or a little cheaper.
Yep, that's exactly what they do.
That is an improvement offer. And according to the text, it is an absolute death sentence.
It's a death sentence because it places you in what business strategists call a red ocean. It's a total bloodbath of competition where everyone is fighting over the exact same customers, usually by just driving prices down to the bottom.
Right.
If you say, my real estate investing course is better than his because I have 50 hours of video instead of 40, well, you are still just selling a real estate course. You're comparing apples to slightly shinier apples.
And the prospect's brain immediately categorizes you alongside all the failures they've already experienced in that domain.
Exactly. You have to switch them to a blue ocean, a wide open, uncontested market space.
You do that by offering them a vehicle they have never been in before. You aren't offering to fix their old, broken-down car. You're offering them a helicopter.
A helicopter, exactly.
It sidesteps all their previous failures.
Right.
Like, if they failed at real estate before, they blame themselves. But if you offer them something completely new, they can say, oh, I didn't fail because I'm bad at investing. I failed because I wasn't using this specific vehicle.
That psychological relief is everything. And the book provides a very specific formula for designing this vehicle to maximize that relief. First, you define your who-what statement.
Okay, what does that look like?
It reads like this. I'm going to teach submarket how to your niche. For example, I'm going to teach people trying to lose weight how to stop dieting and start drinking ketones for energy and weight loss.
Notice it's not, I'm going to teach people to lose weight by exercising slightly harder.
Right.
The niche is ketones. It's a completely new biological mechanism to them.
Right. And once you have that, you build the opportunity switch headline. This is the provocative title that actually draws people in. The formula is how to result they desire most without thing they fear most.
That formula is incredibly powerful because it targets the dual engines of human motivation, moving toward pleasure while simultaneously avoiding pain. The text gives several real-world examples, doesn't it?
It does. For instance, how to stop exercising and still lose weight through a little-known trick that puts your body into ketosis without giving up your favorite carbs.
Without giving up your favorite carbs. That is the thing they fear most about dieting. You've addressed the primary pain point instantly.
Instantly, yeah.
Or what about this one for relationships? How to reconnect with your wife and find the passion in your marriage without having to go through painful counseling or wasting time talking about your feelings.
It immediately disqualifies the traditional painful improvement routes they've probably already tried and failed at, like couples therapy. Now, to really set the hook and prove this isn't just an improvement offer, the author introduces Jason Fladlien's 5 curiosity hooks.
Okay, yes.
These are 5 different psychological frames for your new opportunity so that it aggressively pulls people out of the red ocean and forces them to pay attention to your blue ocean.
Let's slow down and really explore these hooks because this isn't just marketing copy, it's framing reality. How do we actually hook them?
Hook number 1 is little known, big differences. This is when you take a concept that very few people know about and show how it creates massive, disproportionate results. The keto example fits perfectly here.
There's this little-known biological state called ketosis.
Right. Hardly anybody in the mainstream is talking about it, but it makes a huge difference in your resting metabolic rate.
Hook 2 is well-known, little understood. I love this one because it plays on arrogance a bit. This is taking something everyone thinks they know about, but showing them they are actually doing it entirely wrong.
Do you have an example?
Like, everyone knows what a sales funnel is in the business world,
Right.
but very few people understand the specific behavioral psychology required to make it highly profitable. You are telling them, you think you know this, but you are missing the invisible mechanics.
That's a perfect example. Hook 3 is, this changes everything. This hook relies on a macro-environmental shift. A massive change has occurred in your market, and you are the one holding the map to the new landscape.
It creates extreme urgency.
Yes. It implies that if they don't learn this new vehicle right now, they will be left behind.
Think about the introduction of the Apple iPhone. Steve Jobs didn't just present a better cell phone. He used the "this changes everything" hook. He positioned it as a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device all in one.
He was telling the world that the era of physical keyboards on phones was dead. And if you didn't get on board, you were living in the past.
Exactly. What's the next one?
Hook 4 is the crystal ball theory. This is where you, as the expert, predict a future trend based on data others just aren't seeing. Look, I can see where the economy is going in the next 5 years. Inflation is going to erode traditional savings, and the old way of investing in mutual funds is dead.
So here's the new vehicle, say digital assets or specific real estate trusts you need before the crash happens.
Exactly. And finally, Hook 5 is revising the fundamentals. This is taking a foundational truth that everyone accepts as gospel and turning it completely on its head. It's highly provocative.
It would be like a fitness expert saying, cardio actually makes you fatter, and here is the endocrinology to prove it. It forces the listener to stop in their tracks because you are attacking a core belief.
So you select the hook that best frames your expertise, you craft your headline, and what is the next step? Do you immediately try to sell a $1,000 course?
I'm guessing no.
The text advises strongly against that. The practical takeaway here is to run a free 6-week beta masterclass. You basically test your new vehicle on a small, dedicated group of initial students.
Why 6 weeks specifically?
The text notes the psychology of commitment. Any less than 6 weeks, and people feel shortchanged. They don't feel they've undergone a real transformation. Any more than 6 weeks, and they lose momentum, life gets in the way, and they start complaining or just dropping out.
That makes perfect sense.
You run this beta group for free to prove that your vehicle actually gets results in the real world. Those results, those case studies, become the undeniable proof that forms the foundation of everything you will eventually sell.
Because you cannot build a mass movement on theory alone. You need documented proof that your spaceship actually flies.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have our movement, we have our new opportunity, we have our hooks. Now we come to how we actually communicate this opportunity so people will follow us. And this is where the text completely flips traditional education upside down. We have to talk about the Epiphany Bridge, which champions storytelling over teaching.
This concept addresses the single biggest mistake experts make, and it stems from the curse of knowledge. When experts try to convince someone to try their new vehicle, they almost always slip into teacher mode.
Which is their comfort zone.
Right. They start lecturing, they use jargon, they lay out facts, figures, historical data, and logical arguments, and it fails to convert almost every single time.
Because logic doesn't sell. Emotion does. The text says that you must share the Epiphany Bridge story.
Oh.
This is the exact narrative of how you, the expert, originally had the aha moment that led you to discover this new vehicle in the first place.
Yes.
But let's dig into why teaching fails. Because if I have undeniable data that my method works, why doesn't presenting that data work?
Let's look at the neurology and psychology of why the Epiphany Bridge is strictly required. As an expert, you went through a long, painful journey. You had a problem, you hit a wall, you felt deep emotional pain and frustration, and then you discovered a solution, the epiphany.
Right.
That intense emotional journey is what convinced you to change your life. But when experts talk to their audience, they try to strip away the emotion, skip the journey entirely, and just hand over the logical conclusion.
It's like Inception. You can't just plant a fully formed idea in someone's head and expect them to embrace it. If you try to force logic on them, their critical faculties flare up and their defenses go up immediately. They start looking for flaws in your data.
Exactly. But if you tell a story, if you rebuild the exact bridge of emotional experiences that led to your epiphany, they walk across that bridge with you.
You aren't forcing the idea into their head. You are guiding them through a narrative so they have the exact same visceral epiphany on their own.
And when they have the epiphany themselves, they take ownership of it. It becomes their idea. They sell themselves on your product. Then, and only then, will they look for logical reasons, your data and facts, to justify the emotional decision they've already subconsciously made.
But the text gives a very specific, almost shocking warning about how you tell this story. You must speak at a third-grade level.
Yes.
Which, for an expert who spent a decade getting a PhD or building a complex business, sounds borderline insulting. Why third grade?
It's not about insulting the audience's intelligence. It's about managing cognitive load. When you are telling a story, you want the listener operating in the emotional centers of their brain. If you use big words or, technobabble, you force their prefrontal cortex to engage.
The logic center.
Right. The listener's brain has to pause the emotional narrative to actually translate the jargon. The second they have to process complex logic or define a term, they drop out of the emotional trance of the story. The empathetic connection is broken. Oversimplification is the key to maintaining emotional momentum.
If they're translating jargon, they aren't feeling. And if they aren't feeling, they are buying into your movement. To understand the underlying mechanism of why this type of storytelling is so effective, I want to bring in a concept the text touches on, originally coined by Blair Warren, the one-sentence persuasion formula.
Oh, this is a great one.
It states, people will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies.
That is basically a masterclass in human psychology compressed into a single sentence. And if you look closely, the Epiphany Bridge story is simply a vehicle to deliver all 5 of those elements.
How so?
Well, by telling your story of struggle, you justify their past failures. It wasn't their fault. They were just using the wrong vehicle. You confirm their suspicions that the system was rigged against them. You help them throw rocks at their enemies, which is the old red ocean way of doing things.
So how do we actually structure this story so it hits those psychological triggers every time? The book utilizes Michael Hage's Hero's Two Journeys framework, breaking it down into 8 specific beats. And it's called the 2 journeys because there is the external journey of accomplishment and the internal journey of transformation. Let's walk through these, because this is the architecture of persuasion. Step 1 is the backstory.
Right. The backstory is crucial because it lowers your status from expert on a pedestal to relatable human. You have to start where your audience is right now. If they are struggling with debt, you must show them that you were once drowning in debt too. You have to establish immediate rapport.
Step 2 is desires. What did you want? And this usually splits into 2. The external desire, say wanting to make $10,000 a month, but more importantly, the internal desire. Why did you want it? To feel secure, to prove your father wrong, to stop feeling like a failure. You have to define the emotional stakes.
Exactly. Which leads to step 3, the wall. What was the massive problem or obstacle that you hit in your old life that shattered your current path and forced you to look for a new one?
That wall, that moment of utter defeat is what precipitates step 4, the epiphany. This is the moment of discovery. It's where you realize that the old red ocean tactics won't work, and you see the glimpse of the blue ocean, the new opportunity. It's the moment you read the obscure research paper, or met the mentor, or finally understood the hidden mechanism.
But you don't just win instantly, right? Step 5 is the plan. You map out how you are going to use this new opportunity to achieve your desire. And of course, a good story needs drama, which brings us to step 6, the conflict.
Right. What went wrong when you tried to execute the plan? Did you run out of money? Did your partners betray you? Did your health fail? The conflict makes the ultimate victory believable. If it was too easy, the audience won't relate to it because their lives aren't easy.
Which leads to step 7, the achievement. What was the tangible end result? Did you make the money? Did you lose the weight?
And finally, step 8, the transformation. This is the resolution of the internal journey. How did achieving this result change who you are as a person? It's not just about the fact that you now have a 6-pack or $1 million. It's about the internal shift from insecurity to unshakable confidence.
By walking your audience through those 8 steps, you aren't lecturing them. You are taking them on a cinematic journey where the only logical conclusion at the end is that they too need this new vehicle. You've transferred the epiphany.
Okay, so we've told the story. They are emotionally invested. They had the epiphany. But human nature is stubborn. The second you introduce this new opportunity and tell them it's time to take action, a voice in their head is going to start coming up with a million reasons why it won't work for them.
Which brings us to the next critical phase, breaking and rebuilding belief patterns. The author posits that the moment you present your new vehicle, the audience immediately formulates false beliefs.
They can't help it.
They can't. Your entire job during a presentation, before you ever ask for money, is to identify these false beliefs in advance, systematically break them down, and rebuild them with undeniable truths.
And this is where the text introduces the structure of the perfect webinar. This is a 90-minute presentation script that has supposedly generated hundreds of millions of dollars across various industries. And the breakdown of this 90 minutes is wild. The first 60 minutes are purely dedicated to breaking false beliefs using those Epiphany Bridge stories we just talked about.
Yeah.
Absolutely zero teaching is allowed in the first hour.
Right, 0.
Wait, if I don't teach them anything for 60 minutes, Aren't they going to feel scammed? Aren't they going to wonder where the value is?
It is entirely counterintuitive for an expert because we automatically equate value with information. You feel an immense pressure to deliver value by teaching tactics, strategies, and step-by-step how-tos. But as the author explicitly states, teaching does not have a place in the webinar. It's the surest way to kill sales.
Because if you teach them how to do something before they truly believe it's the only way to succeed, what happens? They just say, oh, that's a neat trick, and they take your free information, try to apply it to their broken red ocean vehicle, and fail. Or they get overwhelmed by the mechanics and talk themselves out of doing it at all.
Exactly. The aha moment is the value. Shifting their worldview is the most valuable thing you can do for them. You focus entirely on 3 main secrets during this hour. And these secrets correspond directly to the 3 categories of false beliefs every human has when confronted with change.
The first is the vehicle-related false belief. They don't believe the new opportunity itself is valid. Let's use an example. If you are selling a course on generating leads through TikTok, their vehicle objection is, TikTok is just for teenagers dancing. My target demographic isn't on there.
Right. Your first secret, and the epiphany bridge story attached to it, must completely destroy that specific belief. You tell the story of how you thought the exact same thing, but then you discovered a hidden subculture of high net worth individuals on the app and how you tapped into it. You shatter the vehicle belief.
The second category is internal false beliefs. This is where the deep-seated self-doubt creeps in. Okay, I believe TikTok works for lead generation, and I believe it worked for you. But I'm an introvert. I don't look good on camera, and I'm not charismatic enough to pull that off.
And again, you don't give them a lecture on how to be confident on camera. That's teaching. Instead, you tell an epiphany bridge story about a time you were terrified of the camera. Or you introduce a student who was cripplingly shy and how you discovered a shortcut, say, a faceless video framework within your new vehicle that completely solved it. You shatter the internal doubt by showing them they don't need the trait they think they lack.
And the third category is external false beliefs. I believe the vehicle works, and I believe I have the capacity to do it, but outside forces will stop me. The algorithm will change. I don't have enough time to edit videos. I don't have the starting capital for ads.
Let's look at the example provided in the text regarding Brunson's own software, ClickFunnels. He knows a massive external false belief his audience has is, I'm not technical, I don't know how to code, I can't build a website. If he tries to teach them basic HTML on the webinar, he loses them instantly. Their cognitive load maxes out.
Oh, totally. They tune out.
Instead, his epiphany bridge story details how he spent thousands of dollars on an arrogant tech team, got incredibly frustrated because he couldn't make a simple text change on his own website without waiting a week, and realized he needed a tool that required 0 tech skills. He breaks their belief that they need to be technical and rebuilds it with the undeniable truth that the software removes that barrier entirely.
It's a brilliant sequence. You are essentially dismantling every possible excuse they have for not taking action, one by one. By the end of those 60 minutes, the psychological dominoes have fallen. They believe in the vehicle, they believe in themselves, and they believe they can overcome outside obstacles. The psychological resistance is gone. They are in a state of high receptivity.
So the beliefs are broken and rebuilt. What happens in the last 30 minutes of this 90-minute perfect webinar?
That is the transition from belief building to the actual pitch. And you do not just say, here is my course, it costs $1,000. That strips away all the momentum. Instead, you present an overwhelming pile of value, which the text calls the stack.
The mechanics of the stack are fascinating. It's not just the core masterclass. You are layering on specific elements designed to guarantee their success and neutralize any lingering micro-hesitations. You include the masterclass. Then you add the tools, templates, scripts, or software that will help them succeed faster. Then you add tangible byproducts, which are things you created for yourself, like a swipe file of your most successful ads, or your personal Rolodex of manufacturers that you are now giving to them. And finally, an exclusive bonus, like a private consultation or a live event ticket, which injects urgency and scarcity.
And crucially, you assign a specific, justifiable monetary value to every single item in that stack. The total value of the stack should be at least 10 times what you are actually going to charge them.
Yes, exactly 10 times.
See, I have to push back hard here. Yeah. When I see a presentation and they put up a slide that says total value, $10,000, and then aggressively cross it out and say, but today it's yours for only $997. My scam radar goes absolutely crazy. How is this not just a cheesy 1990s infomercial tactic? It feels manipulative.
I get that. It feels manipulative when it's done poorly, when the values are arbitrarily inflated without any justification. If you say a one-page PDF checklist is worth $2,000, the audience loses trust instantly. But when done correctly, it is deeply rooted in the neurological phenomenon of anchoring.
How does that work?
As you present each item, you continuously show an expanding stack slide. You show the masterclass, and you justify why it's a $2,000 value, perhaps, because it replaces a $2,000 college course. Then you show the masterclass plus the tools, total value $3,000.
You do this over and over until the final slide shows a total value of, say, $11,500.
Exactly. By the time you finally reveal the actual price of $997, their brain is anchored to the $11,500 figure. The price isn't compared to zero, it's compared to the massive justified total value they've been staring at for 10 minutes. It's like going to buy a Honda and the dealer says, for the exact same price as the base model, I'm throwing in lifetime gas, a personal chauffeur for weekends, and a built-in espresso machine. At some point, the math forces your hand. It suddenly feels like an irrational decision not to buy.
Wow. Okay. And throughout this entire 90-minute process, you aren't just monologuing. The text emphasizes the use of trial closes. These are little micro-commitment questions sprinkled constantly throughout the presentation. Are you getting this? Isn't that cool? Can you imagine if that happened to you?
Trial closes are essential for maintaining engagement and building a psychological habit. If you talk at someone for 90 minutes straight and then suddenly ask for a massive financial commitment at the very end, the jump is just too severe. The friction is too high.
Yeah, it's jarring.
But if you've asked them 50 small, low-stakes questions, and they've nodded or said yes in their head 50 times, you have built a subconscious habit of agreement. The final decision to purchase is just the 51st yes in a sequence. It feels natural.
It's all about building momentum. And the book even provides specific closing scripts for the end of the pitch. My favorite is the information alone close. You literally look at the camera and tell them, I've given you all the information today, but let's be honest, information alone won't cut it. If information was all you needed, you'd already be successful. You need coaching, you need accountability, and I am not going to let you go back to your old habits.
You frame the purchase not as a transaction, but as a moral obligation to ensure their success. Which brings us to a critical juncture in our deep dive. How do all these ideas fit together? If we step back and look at the underlying logic of Brunson's methodology, it is not just a loose collection of marketing tricks. It is a highly sequential, incredibly rigorous psychological playbook that maps perfectly to human behavior.
What's truly revolutionary here is that the author is essentially saying that teaching is the enemy of persuasion. If you want to genuinely change someone's life, you teach them after they pay. Before they pay, your only job is to change their beliefs.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about realizing that your expertise, no matter how profound, is totally useless if your audience doesn't actually believe they can achieve the result. The author's worldview is that people are desperate for leadership. They want transformation. But they are paralyzed by their own deeply ingrained false beliefs and past failures. Therefore, belief must always, always precede education.
The logic flows so perfectly when you view it from 30,000 feet. You identify the audience. You realize they are stuck in a bloody red ocean fighting over scraps. You create a completely new vehicle, a blue ocean opportunity that offers them a fresh start. You use your own origin story, the Epiphany Bridge, to bypass their logical defenses and connect with them emotionally, fulfilling that one-sentence persuasion mandate.
Exactly.
You spend an hour systematically destroying their false beliefs about the vehicle, themselves, and the outside world. And then you present an overwhelming pile of value, the stack, so that purchasing your new opportunity becomes the only logical, rational choice left.
It is quite literally a masterclass in behavioral psychology applied to commerce. Which leads us to ask, who is this highly structured playbook actually for? Because it's not just for people who want to be internet marketers.
The text outlines a few specific target audiences. First is the employee. This is the person stuck in Kiyosaki's E-quadrant. They have a side hustle, a passion, some specialized knowledge. Maybe they're amazing at dog training or urban gardening, and they are desperately looking for a way to package it into a business so they can escape the 9-to-5 grind. This gives them the exact roadmap to do that.
Then there is the small business owner or the self-employed professional in the S quadrant. Think of a dentist, a chiropractor, or a local retail store owner. They might think, I don't sell information, I pull teeth, or I adjust backs. But the text argues that they can use this exact framework to build an information business on the front end of their company.
Right. A dentist could create an information product, like a masterclass on holistic oral health or cosmetic dentistry options, use the perfect webinar to sell it, and acquire highly qualified new patients for practically zero cost because the revenue from the information product pays for the marketing. That is a massive paradigm shift for a brick-and-mortar business. You essentially get paid to acquire customers.
And finally, this book is explicitly for the struggling expert, the person we talked about at the very beginning of this deep dive, the one in the basement vault. They've consumed tons of information, they have the cure, they might even be coaching a few people one-on-one, but they are broke and burned out because they haven't figured out how to scale their message into a mass movement.
Whether you are a fitness coach trying to help people get in shape, a real estate investor teaching house flipping, or someone who knows how to cure kids' ADHD naturally without medication, this framework applies. The mechanics of human belief, the necessity of cognitive ease in storytelling, and the psychology of persuasion do not change based on the niche.
And that is the true power of the source material. It strips away the specifics of what you are teaching and provides an architectural blueprint for how to make people care enough to listen and act.
We have covered an immense amount of ground today. We've explored this massive paradigm shift from being a simple provider of commoditized information to becoming the charismatic leader of an expert business. But we have to acknowledge that even with all this detail, we have only skimmed the surface of the text.
Indeed. The psychological frameworks, the exact wording and pacing of the 5 curiosity hooks, the deep mechanics of every single slide in the perfect webinar, the specific scripts for the trial closes, the source material goes into exhaustive, granular detail on all of these.
So if you were sitting there listening to this and you felt this overview genuinely sparked an aha moment for you, if you feel like you were that expert trapped in the basement and you want to truly build this out for yourself, there is a complete audio available. It's several hours long, and it covers literally every single chapter in exhaustive detail.
It's incredible.
We are talking about the exact scripts, deeper examples across dozens of industries, and actionable, step-by-step takeaways for every single phase of building your mass movement. This isn't a sales pitch. It's just the natural next step if you're ready to go deeper and actually build this machine. Check the link in the description to access it.
It is a remarkable resource for anyone serious about this path. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've talked extensively about specialized knowledge today. Think about the one piece of knowledge, the one skill that you take entirely for granted every single day.
Yeah, what is that for you?
What is the one thing you do effortlessly that someone else out there is currently praying for a solution to? That seemingly ordinary skill is the seed of your mass movement.
It's true. The cure is down there in the vault. The world is waiting for it. You said it to build the stage, tell the story, and unlock the door. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
What you just listened was the beginning of a full audio, way longer, explaining every single chapter of the book. If you would like to keep listening to the end and access to the full audio, you can access it with the link down below in the description and in the pinned comment.